On this episode of the Mamas Con Ganas podcast, I have a very special guest, Liezl Paulino. We're going to be teaching you, mamacitas, or she's going to be walking you through on how to create a powerful vision board. Liezl Paulino is an actor. She's a Kundalini yoga instructor, a certified human design reader, a self-help junkie, an eternal optimist, and an accessories enthusiast. Welcome, Liezl, to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so excited to have you here. Mamacitas, you don't know how much I love this girl right in front of us today. She's actually one of my sister's best friends. So she's a good friend of mine, and she's been part of our family since we were in high school. We've known each other for over 20 years.
Yes, over 20 years. Oh my goodness.
Yes, so she's like me. She loves the topics of spirituality, and she loves the topics of self-improvement, just like me. She's a self-help junkie. I think I'm right in line with you there, Liezl. And it's interesting because I'd wanted to bring this episode topic, and this is by myself last month. I was like, I gotta talk about the vision board. I gotta talk to my mamacitas about a vision board. And then, funny enough, my sister at the very end of the year, she was telling me, she said, Val, everything I wrote down on my vision board that I created last year came to pass. And Liezl is doing another like workshop on the vision board, on how to create a vision board this year. We did it with her last year, and so I'm going to do it again. Would you be interested in doing it? I was like, what? Well, absolutely. I did a vision board several years back. It wasn't my first one, but I was like, I love being walked through the process. And I said, well, who better to bring onto the podcast than somebody who is basically walking us through it at this very moment.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much for having me. Of course, it's an honor and a pleasure to be here with you. Of course, I adore you. I've known you for so long and looked up to you like a big sister for so many years. So it's a privilege to be here with you.
Tell the mamacitas, for those who have never, like if somebody's listening to this to us right now and they have never ever done a vision board, they don't even know what a vision board is. Can you explain to them like what it is?
Yeah, sure. So a vision board, really put simply, is just a board, whether it is physical or whether it's you decide to make a digital one. It's basically a board that you'll have visual images that are powerful and meaningful to you, and words that are inspirational or motivational that kind of help you envision the goals and the dreams and the experiences that you want to create or call into your life. I know the word manifestation is getting a lot of buzz right now, but really that's what you're doing. You are creating and manifesting and bringing this life that you desire in your mind, and you're calling it into physical form, and you're asking to see it in your reality. So a board is basically a tool that helps you remind yourself, hopefully on a daily basis, of the life, of the dreams, of the goals that you have for yourself that you are looking to achieve. So it's a reminder, or like a roadmap almost.
I love that. And for those of you of my listeners that are listening to this and going, that's a bunch of hocus pocus. There's like a science to this, right? Like tell us a little bit about the science, the neuroscience.
Yeah, so I mean, it's really powerful for a couple of reasons. Well, the first one is for a lot of people, and we've talked about this before, like you have these dreams in your heart and in your mind that you have for yourself. Sometimes we're scared to kind of speak about those dreams or speak those dreams into existence, because who knows, maybe you've shared it with your family, your friends before, and they're like, oh, that's stupid, or oh, that doesn't make sense, or oh, that's not realistic. That's my favorite one.
That's never going to happen.
Oh yeah, like, oh, that would require a miracle. Well, I mean, miracles happen on a daily basis, right? So I think kind of like from a non-hocus pocus perspective, maybe one of the most powerful things it can do for anyone is, one, it helps you kind of connect to what are your dreams for yourself, right? What do I hope to accomplish? And creating a vision board, very simply, is able to have you get that out of your head and into a physical form, whether it's on paper or on a digital board, and put that in front of you, right? So I think that's like the first step into bringing something to reality is not letting it live in your head. It's getting it out into the world in some form. Now, it doesn't have to be for anybody else to see, but for you, that let's say your dream is to make, I don't know, $200,000, right? But you've never spoken that dream aloud to anybody. Well, now you're putting a visual reminder like that, hey, this is a goal that I have for myself, into your physical space. So it's powerful in that your dream no longer just lives in your head. It's going to be a visual reminder in your space on a daily basis that says, I can bring this reality to life. It's not lost in your mind somewhere. So secondly, the neuroscience behind that is, so you're in essence, you're activating and reprogramming something called your reticular activating system. So from a neuroscience perspective, it's really like the bundle of nerves that sits in the base of your brainstem, and it's responsible. You can kind of think of it as the filter, right? So its whole main objective is to keep us alive and to keep us sane, right? Which, I mean, that's a tall order, right? So in order to do that, what the reticular activating system does is it, in essence, it identifies what information is important, what's basically what has importance, what is, they can't think of the word at the moment, like what's relevant, right? And so it identifies what is important and relevant information, and it allows that to filter into your brain and into your consciousness, and it, in essence, actively blocks the rest of the information. So it only lets through what's important. Now, a really simple example of your reticular activating system at work is when you buy a car, right? Like, I remember I bought a new car not too long ago, and it was a white Volvo XC90, right? Like the mom car of like a mom mobile, right? And as soon as I got that car, I was like, oh my God, I noticed that they're everywhere. Like, they're literally everywhere. And it's not that those cars weren't there before, right? They were absolutely there before, but now it was brought into my awareness because I now have one that, oh, they're everywhere. Whereas before it was just filtered information that was not relevant to me. And, you know, probably same for you. Everybody's probably got that experience. Like, oh, are you dreaming of a black Porsche? Okay. You probably see black Porsches everywhere. And all of a sudden.
Yeah, it's interesting because with that particular point in mind, I always tell like women who say, "Oh, there's no fish in the sea, or there's no men out there, whatever." And I always tell them, whatever you believe is what will manifest itself. So if you keep saying to yourself, "There's no good men out there," the only men that you'll actually end up seeing in your reality are the bad men. And if you tell yourself, "There's a lot of really good men out there," all of a sudden the universe will show you proof of what you believe.
That's true. It's like, it's, you know, that old quote of whether you say you can or you can't, you are correct, right? You're in essence creating your reality. You are speaking your words into existence, and you're becoming your own like self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Like, oh, I never book anything. I'm there. Look, you keep in that energy, then yeah, you're never going to book anything. But you make simple shifts in your mindset, then all of a sudden your reality will show up differently for you.
Absolutely. Now, Liezl created this awesome worksheet. It's a freebie you guys can get on the website, mamasconganas.com/121. And there you can download the freebie and do the exercise for yourself on creating the vision board. So let's start like going step one. Like, what's the first thing you do when you want to create a vision board? Like, what would be the first thing for people to do?
Yeah, so I think a lot of this is like you kind of having time to reflect with yourself. So some people like to do this all in one chunk, you know, like let's say you take a Sunday and you take a couple hours to do this. I prefer to kind of do it over a few days, so it's digestible, kind of small bites of information, and it's not super overwhelming. So I think like step one would just be some time to reflect, like think and have a chat with yourself and say like, okay, what are kind of my hopes and my dreams, and what do I want to call into existence into my life, right? And then just kind of take it a step further. When you think of like, oh, what do I want in my life, it's kind of hard to say, all right, all of a sudden you get very specific with your goals. There are a few different areas of our lives, right? And there's 8 to 10 different areas that I can think of that we'll share with you guys that you can kind of break down. Like, do I really want to focus specifically this year on family? Do I want to focus on my career? Do I want to focus on my home or my environment? And so I think the first step is kind of ask yourself, where do I want to improve in my life, right? And then after you've identified the areas in your life that you want to see some change in, or that you have these dreams that you want to bring about in your life, then I think you start by identifying the goals that you have in that area. So I think the specificity helps, and it doesn't make it as overwhelming where all of a sudden you feel like you need this like grand life plan, right? You can focus on one area, or you can focus on several. It's really kind of up to you and where you are in your heart and in your life. for me, kind of what a vision board does is it helps you get clear on your vision for your life, like your inspired vision for your life. So rather than it being just a bunch of pretty pictures, right? Like, oh, look at this pretty beach picture, or look at this person with a great body. No, the images actually, when you go to select them, I think you have to be really mindful of that. You have to, first of all, ask yourself, because a lot of times when we think about like identifying our goals, it's not even really about the shoe or the body or the bank account, right? It's actually, we're actually chasing a feeling.
Yes. Oh my gosh. That's where I was going. Because as you were saying this, I was thinking about my vision board. And I was like, you know what? The pictures I ended up choosing, it's more about how they made me feel rather than the actual thing itself, right?
Right.
It's like the type
Yeah.
of feeling that it would, that it brings to me when I look at that.
That's exactly what I think, at least in my opinion, I think that's what makes a vision board powerful. So when you look at an image, right, of whether it is a place or a person or a thing, it doesn't even have to be like, the vision board isn't really tied to the form of like what you're putting on your board for your life, right? I think when we ask ourselves what our goals are, it's really easy to just fire off a list of things like, I want to lose 20 pounds. I want to, I want to make X amount of dollars. I want to, I want to book this, or I want to work in this field. But then if you take about a step further and you ask yourself, okay, well, if I lost 20 pounds, let's say, what would I feel? Like, how do I hope to feel by accomplishing that goal? Well, really, what someone would be chasing, what I would be chasing, is the feeling of being strong in my body, the feeling of having energy, the feeling of being confident in my body and in my sexuality. To put it simply, like to look cute naked, or whatever the thing is, right? Like, or like to feel good naked, and to feel, and all of those things. So really, what I'm chasing is not a number necessarily. It's that the feeling that I identify with that particular goal. And then if I ask myself, okay, that's what I'm hoping to feel. Okay, but why do I want to feel that? Right. So really, at the end of the day, if you ask yourself, well, shoot, how do I really want to feel by accomplishing this goal? It deepens your connection to the goal, right? It makes it much more personal and much more specific. And then also, if you ask yourself, like, why do I want to do that? Well, of course, like, I want to be healthy for my son. I want to be active. I want to live a life that's full of vitality, right? And then it's a much more deeper conversation. It's not just, I want to lose 20 pounds. You know what I mean? So when you're going to find images for your board, the way that can translate is, I would look for something that's meaningful to me. That when I see that picture, because I've done the work and had the conversation with myself, okay, what is my goal? What is that? What would that feel like for me? And why do I want to achieve that? All of a sudden, I'm looking at this photo and I can assign the meaning, the feeling, the sensation of that in my body. I can assign it to that image, right? So it doesn't have to make sense to everybody else. It could be someone, like laying on a beach or sitting on a tree or just sitting in meditation. And I know what that means. In my brain, I know what that means, what that feels like, what that holds for me, the intention that holds.
Absolutely. It's interesting when you talk about like, visualizing what you want. Because I did an exercise once with a friend of mine, and for 90 days, we were reading chapter 9 of the book Think and Grow Rich, which is the book on persistence. But the most interesting thing about the exercise that we did is that we would read out loud what we wanted. And what I found out over the course of, it was 90 days, is that what I thought I wanted in the very beginning was a very different thing than what I realized I wanted after 90 days. Because sometimes I think we have this idea of what we want, but a lot of times it's sort of borrowed thoughts from other people. It's like what other people want, and so we kind of just adopt it without really trying the clothes. It's as if, the wish is a piece of clothing, and then we try it on. We're like, this doesn't fit me very well. So sometimes we have to try on like our desires, like really like, and that's why when you said perhaps take a couple days to do this, I think that that's very wise, because you have time to mull over what your desires and wishes and dreams are, and then you sort of can try them on for a while, for a couple of days, and say, does that really resonate with me? Does that really feel fulfilling, for my life? or is it
Yeah.
or is it just a wish that I thought I wanted because a bunch of people want it?
That's so powerful too, because we are so, you know, as human beings, we're so prone to take on like the conditioning around us, right? So for that, that's a really powerful thought, because really at the end of the day, like what you're hoping to get to is, I want to connect to and remember what my divine purpose is. Like, what do I hope for my life? Forget what your mom and dad hope, or you know what your significant other hopes. It's really like, what do I want to do? How do I feel fulfilled? And how do I create this life? Because you know, I know it's interesting, because I know, you know, in our group of friends, there's those of us that are like very open to the spiritual stuff, which is you just kind of take on a word of faith, and those of us that just kind of that really need the more scientific or the logical approach to things. And that's kind of one of the things that's always brought up, like, oh, well, and actually I think you brought this up earlier in your money story podcast. It's like the thoughts and the emotions that we have around money, or around anything really, is really developed within us by the age of 7. Okay, at the age of 7, right? And this is something that's kind of brought to my awareness lately, because as I'm trying to parent my son, this is when I'm like, do I really want to give him my neuroses on this? So I think about these things
Yeah, or
a
sometimes you say
lot.
things, even with us that we're doing the work constantly. I can totally relate. I'm just like, as a mother, I don't know, when I was going to become a mother, I'm like, oh, I'm going to be the best mother. I know exactly what the mother type of mother I want to be. And then you become a mother and you're like, oh man, am I messing this up completely? And then like you're saying, you're like, I remember I heard that by the age 4, you had to teach them empathy. Because if you didn't teach empathy by the age of 4, apparently you were screwed. I know we're going off topic, but
But that's a very important point of like why it's important to take the time and ask yourself the question. Because I don't know about you, like if somebody's like, hey, what are your top 3 favorite movies? I'll literally freeze and be like, I don't know, what are yours? You know, like because I like, yes, I might know them.
unless you've actually thought about that question
Mhm.
and said to yourself, this is my favorite thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Or yeah, I mean, like that, then that becomes like, okay, then that's exactly what you said. You're borrowing ideas from other people, and you're not even taking the time to sit and listen to yourself. Like, okay, what do I want for my life? Well, what do you want me to do? That's that's usually how it goes, right? Like when you're growing up or whatever, like, I want you to be a lawyer. I want you to be this. I want to be that. No, okay, take the time and ask yourself, what do I want to be in this life? How do I want to, you know, express in the world, which is really kind of what we're all looking to do, authentically express in human form.
Yes, absolutely. And I think it's so important because many times, like we were talking in the beginning, our our dreams are sort of pushed down, or they're like frowned upon, or people tell you that it can't be done. And so this is a very personal, I find this to be like a very personal exercise. And if you're somebody who has a even harder time, for example, saying out loud like what your dreams are, then perhaps you literally want to just kind of go into your own little world while you're doing this exercise, because
Mhm.
you know you don't want to let other people around you influence what it is that you truly want, that your heart really desires, that you know,
Yeah.
and really find like what is in your alignment, you know, for your divine assignment.
Yes, yes. I mean, that's the, I like to think of this process, and not a once a year process, a whenever you need process, as a conversation with God, or a conversation with the universe or a spirit, whatever your higher power is. You are having a conscious conversation and asking for, you know, help me connect back to my purpose here. You know, how do I want to see this show up? And you're in essence that you're using that conversation with God to create the life that you're trying to, that you in your heart and in your soul really want to be living.
Absolutely. Okay. So then we get clear on our goals and we look at all the areas of our life and we set goals for ourselves. Then we ask ourselves, you know, what is the feeling that is accompanying these goals? Like, what are the feelings that I hope to attain by getting
Mhm.
these goals? And then what's next? What's after that? What do we do after that?
Yeah, so I think after you identify the feeling that you're trying to achieve, or what you're really hoping to feel by accomplishing the goal, I think a nice step to kind of take that a step deeper is get clear on your why. right? Like, why do I want to accomplish this goal? So very simply, like this could be put into, okay, so let's say somebody has a financial goal. They want to save X amount of dollars. Let's just throw out a number there. And let's say I want $1 million in liquid cash, right? And that might just seem like, oh, that's a materialistic goal, but no, you take it a step further. Oh, how do you hope to feel? Well, I hope to feel safety and security, and I hope to feel successful. But why do I want to do that? Well, I want to be able to make sure that I have a safety net. I want to be able to provide a great life for my son. I'd like to be able to take care of my parents. Like then when you get into those deeper layers of your goal, so to speak, then you realize the impact that it'll have not only in yourself, but for those around you. So this is kind of why I think when you take the time to ask yourself those questions, it's no longer just finding a pretty picture to put on a board. Then when you go to find the picture of what that financial goal looks like for you, you know you're doing that so that you feel safety and security and success. And you also know that you're doing that for the deeper reason of being able to provide for your family, of being able to take care of your parents, and I don't know, maybe retire one of them or retire your spouse or whatever the case might be. But it's no longer just a dollar amount with no reasoning behind it. You've given it a
yeah, I think that's so beautiful, like right there, because like we gotta take a pause right here, because I think this lights your fire like even more. Like when you really understand the why you're after that, like you said, it's no longer about the material, accumulation of that wealth, but the reason behind it, you realize it's actually an important reason. Like it's something that you're doing it from your heart and it's for the greater good, and everything that you'll be able to contribute to the world that comes along with that is so powerful that it makes you want to go after that goal with even more. It gives you a purpose, like a real purpose for going after that.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's like the most important thing is like, one, just knowing that your dreams and your goals for your life are valid, right? Like no matter what they are, no matter who's told you they're ridiculous, whatever your dreams are, they're valid and they matter. They're important. You're important. Okay. And after you establish that with yourself and you're like, hey, my dreams are important, not only for myself, but because of the impact I can have, because of the intention I have behind it. And I think that's what really kind of makes the difference on, especially when you're putting this board together, when you're putting this visual reminder together, that's what makes it so much more impactful for you every time you see it.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Now, what's next?
Okay. So once you've figured that out, you've asked yourself like all the right questions. Then once you're clear on all of that, that's when you start looking for those images, right? So then you look for the images that you feel like might represent those fully for you. I also like to take it a step further and write an affirmation for each of those goals, right? So Jack Canfield has a great guideline of how to create a great and what's an effective affirmation, a positive daily affirmation. So you're claiming that as your reality today. So for instance, if it's that goal of a financial goal, right? Let's say you're claiming that as an affirmation. You're saying, I am so happy and so grateful to be celebrating the fact that I have reached my goal of having $1 million in liquid cash available to me, right? Or I am so happy and grateful to be celebrating having achieved my goal weight of whatever your goal weight is. And so it's not, you're anchoring in that feeling, right? You're speaking your life into existence. You're speaking your dream into existence by writing an affirmation to go along with your goal. And so as a part of your imagery, right? Like you can also choose words that carry the essence of that affirmation for you. So no matter what it is, so if it's a professional job, I'm so happy and grateful to be celebrating, or so happy and grateful to be working in the field of my choice, being compensated abundantly. However that is, like there's and we'll have it in the handout, like there's a very simple formula on how to create a great positive daily affirmation for yourself. You can keep that in a journal for yourself. And then how that relates to your board is you can find a word or think of a word that evokes that same feeling in you, right? So when you're looking at your board, like, yes, like today, like this is the next step, right? You're finding words and you're finding images that speak to you, that make you feel the thing, the desired feeling state that you're looking to acquire, right? That represents the achievement for you, that represents that goal being accomplished for you. So it's very, very powerful reminders for your mind and for your brain.
It's super powerful. I specifically remember a moment in time where eh, the money was like very scarce and I didn't know what was going to be my situation. I was in the middle of my divorce and I didn't know if I was going to be basically left without my house. And the financial stress was so much. And I remember that I sat down with one of my friend's moms who is a therapist, and she basically gave me, I think, the best affirmation. For me, it's still my affirmation on abundance. It's actually in French. And the affirmation was, and I would repeat it way back when I could not even fathom that it was coming true, but I would repeat it with like feeling the emotion, you know? And I would say to myself in French, it's, j'ai tout ce que je veux économiquement. J'ai tout ce que je veux économiquement, which means I have everything I desire economically. Everything I wish economically, I have. I have everything I desire. I don't know if that's the translation good in English, but in my mind, it was like, yes, that feeling of everything that I desire that has to do with abundance is done. It's like, it's good. And I would repeat it to myself every single day, multiple times a day. And I think it worked magic, particularly when you're doing that repetition and you're already going into that feeling, even when that feeling is feeling so far away. It's sort of like you have to repeat it to yourself so many times. I would repeat it to
Yeah.
myself so many times that I swear I was repeating that thing while I was sleeping.
I love that though, because really, like, okay, so a lot of people, when they think about a vision board, it's like, yeah, let's put a bunch of pretty pictures together and look at it. Like, it's gonna do nothing. It's not, but really what you're describing is exactly what you hope to do. So once you have this board with your pictures that are meaningful to you, with words that evoke this sense of feeling for you, really what it is like, hopefully it's a daily ritual for you, which is exactly what you described, of repeating it to yourself, right? You're looking at this as if it is already a reality. You're
Yes.
claiming it to be your reality,
See,
right?
that's the key. That's the key. That like
Mhm.
you have to say it as if it's already the reality. Yes.
Yes, yeah, you were thanking God and the universe. You were thanking them from a place of gratitude and love for
Yes.
bringing this to your life. You're already saying thank you for. I mean, I hate to keep going back to these examples, but like, if we're going back to the financial example, or like, thank you for, you're already saying thank you for bringing this financial abundance into my life, right? You're already at that state where you look at your board, and if somebody that meditates, or even if you're like cooking somewhere that you can see, you're looking at this, you're starting with the idea of thanking God and the universe for bringing this vision into your reality, right? And it's, again, it's a conversation with you and God and the universe. So you're claiming it as if it's already happened, right? Like it's already a life that's waiting for you to catch up. That's exactly how I feel about it. Like, these are things that are already existing. It's just waiting to, or it's just catching up with me now. That's all that I'm waiting for. So you're looking at this on a daily basis. And I like to think of this as like rehearsal, right? So like, let's say you have a play, Valentina. You're going into rehearsal every day, rehearsing, like, yes, of course not going full out on your performance, but you're rehearsing like your feeling state, right? You know, like, I want this, and this is what I'm intending to happen. This is how I want to feel, right? So connecting to the feeling and connecting to the thing that, like, I want to say the thing you desire, but yes, is something that's very important. And then you're saying thank you for already for bringing it into my existence, and then you're letting it go, right? You're letting it go, but you're going through the notion and the daily ritual of saying thank you for bringing this into my life, as if it's already your current reality. So
Yeah.
that's kind of the magic piece of it, right? So you can't just like throw it away or leave it in the back of the closet. Look at it every day, so that your subconscious and is already, right, is already attuned to the things that you are looking to bring into your life. And then also, energetically speaking, like, you are stepping up, your energy or your vibration to meet the dream that you have for yourself, right? So you're stepping up, right? If you are desiring a dream partner, this dream partner that you have, and He is, I don't know, insert here, whatever your dream partner might be. But if you're not doing the work on yourself to be the dream partner as well, it's probably not going to happen right away. There's probably a few steps and some work you have to do to be open and to be ready to meet that dream partner once that person is available to you.
Yes, absolutely. And I was going to say something that popped up while you were talking, and it's this, because I think this is very important for everybody listening, is let's say that you start creating this vision board and you create it for yourself and you put it in your house. Like, I've seen people, Liezl, literally do this, and then a year later, when it didn't come, when everything that they put didn't come, they literally rip it out of their thing and then they throw it away.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
So I'm just, because people become very impatient, and I think faith has to have a lot of patience. And they say that infinite patience produces immediate results. But it's infinite patience, and that infinite patience takes a lot of patience, and then that infinite patience produces immediate results. So if you don't see the results happening right away, do not give up. Do not put that vision board down, because you know what? I think that honestly, truly, and I was listening, I forgot what it was that I was listening to, but it was, yes, it was Mel Robbins. I was listening to her Instagram account the other day, and she was talking about dreams and how the dreams that we have, we walk around in our lives carrying these dreams, and these dreams have accompanied us since we were like a little girl. And so we can put the dreams in a cupboard, but the dream will still always be there. So you can make the vision board, then rip it down, but you're literally just putting that dream in the cupboard, but the dream will always still exist there. So do not give up, have infinite patience and infinite faith, and you'll see how your life unfolds and how you'll start manifesting this stuff for real.
Yes, I think that also brings up another really important thing is we live in this age of Amazon deliveries like in an hour. Right? Like, if I now look at Amazon, and this is terrible, but this is true. I'm like, what? It gets here in 2 days? Are you kidding me? That's so long. So yes, like we live in this super fast paced, like I want it 5 days ago, like type environment. So I think there's really two important things to note, right? This is why we do the work of getting clear on why, like, what do we want to feel and why do we want to accomplish this goal or this dream. I think it's important to get clear on those two things for two reasons. One is you're connecting to the essence of the thing that you want. Does that make sense? Like, so it's not the car, right? It's not this, I want this car. It is, I want the feeling of feeling successful and feeling proud of myself and whatever. So let's say it's not this, since we talked about a black Porsche earlier, let's say it's not a black Porsche that shows up for you, but this or something better shows up for you. So yes, maybe it was not the exact picture you put on your vision board, because it's not really the point. You're not looking to bring this one particular thing to you. You're hoping to bring the essence of that thing to you, if that makes sense. So
yes, I love that. I think at the end will give you the same feeling, the desired result will be there if it brings you that feeling.
Right. I think some people think if you're like, oh, I put this house on my vision board and that's not the house you end up in 2 months, right? Because again, Amazon, like I want to order it. Like I make the joke of like, I ordered my dream body on Amazon and it's still not here. Well, that's not how that works, right? There's like work that has to go into that, and not just, it's a mind, body, soul, like, there's a whole bunch of things that goes into that. But like in that same token, it's the concept of like, all right, I want to get clear on my goal, because this is the thing, this is the essence of the thing that I'm calling into my life, right? I want this to show up in my life. This is what I'm calling in to my life. So one, it's not the thing, it's the essence of the thing that we're attached to. And the people that I think get frustrated with their vision board or, oh, this doesn't work, well, they're attached, it's attachment, right? And the Buddhists say attachment is the root of all suffering, right? So I'm attached to this particular form. If it doesn't show up in this form, I'm not satisfied. Okay, well, you're kind of missing the point. The second thing is you also have to just release the time constraint, right? Like time is this thing.
I love that. Release the time constraint. That should be like a tweet right now.
Yeah, like, because like, again, we're so primed these days to like, I want this tomorrow, without having the work, or letting God and the universe and its magic kind of unfold, or just letting life happen for long enough that these things line up for you. Right. So I think if you release your attachment to the form that you're expecting things to show up in, and you release this concept of, I need it by this time, right? Like, it's then you're already in a much better place, right? Your vision board is meant to serve as a roadmap to you, a visual reminder, right? Like, so many of us are visual learners. If you see something, it elicits a feeling and a response in you. Well, if you let yourself feel the feelings of, as you're looking at your board every day, your body is rehearsing the chemicals. The chemicals are already releasing in your body and your brain of like what that feels like to have that partner, or to have that achievement already experienced. So by the time that it happens, right, you're ready for it to show up for you. You're rehearsing it every single day until it's showtime.
Yeah, mine literally is, well, it wasn't here. It wasn't in my bathroom before, but it used to be in my office, which is now my foster son's room. And I brought it up because I was like, poor kid keeps looking at my vision board all day long.
He's
Or when
gonna
he
be
comes
like
home.
imagining, it's gonna be when he shows up in his life and he's like, what? I don't even know.
So I moved it up to my bathroom. I literally put it like right above my sink. So as I'm brushing my teeth, I'm looking at it and I love it there now. Cause like it doesn't matter like whether I'm putting my makeup on, or like brushing my teeth. I'm like literally looking at it, even getting dressed. And it's like it is that constant reminder. And it's crazy. I actually took it down. I wanted to show. Let me see. I'm gonna show you like what I did for my vision board.
Oh, I love that.
So if you're not like on YouTube, you guys get to see it. But basically, yeah. So I of course I put God in the center. I always like to be aligned like with my divine assignment. And so I'm like I like to keep God center. And then I put of course a lot of ballroom dancing over here.
Love,
And
love.
and then on the other side I have more of like the feelings of my home. You want to know a funny thing? So this picture right here, so I'm showing a picture of like I put South Florida spectacular tropical vistas European influence. And I love things that are aesthetically glamorous, perhaps because I'm a romantic. So anyways, this picture I loved because it was like a European feeling with like the tropical Florida or whatever. I had no idea where it was. I just said I want my house to feel like this. I want it to be like romantic, and I want it to feel like tropical, but I kind of want to bring the European influence that I love so much. And I put the picture there that's on there. And 2 weeks later, after I create this vision board, literally it's kind of funny. 2 weeks later, my husband was invited to do a like some sort of seminar, or to go to a meeting, a dental meeting at the Breakers in West Palm Beach. And I walk into the Breakers and I look around and I'm like, this looks like my vision board. And that's when I realized I had put a picture of the Breakers on my vision board. And 2 weeks later, I was literally in that place. So I know it's like it's not the house that I have, but it's interesting how quickly I drew that energy to myself.
Yeah.
And then
Yes.
and then with like all the ballroom, that I do, and I love performing, and I'm constantly doing auditions and stuff. It was interesting because this at the end of the year, so I love Dancing with the Stars, and one of my dreams is to like one day be on Dancing with the Stars.
I
and
love that.
and I was actually, so I wasn't on Dancing with the Stars last year, but my co-star from the movie that I did ended up asking me to be his assistant choreographer for a show that's like a Dancing with the Stars on Telemundo. So I
Oh
was
my
rehearsing
goodness.
all this. So it's like, it's interesting because you do bring the energy and somehow it manifests in a different way for you. But I truly believe in the vision board. I think it's so powerful. And I think this is why this message is so important, because I feel like it is so necessary to keep dreaming, to not give up on your dreams, to keep visualizing. It doesn't matter what your circumstances are right now. If you're listening to us and you're literally going through the worst moment in your life and you just feel like you don't even have the energy to dream, I think that's like the first thing you need to do is literally just like open your heart up to, once again, like that little girl that lives inside you, to like think about what it is that you would love your life to be about, and the things that you want your life to be about, and the kind of life that that you would like to live. And then that's like the starting point, what the mind can conceive, we are able to achieve. And I truly
Yes.
believe that.
Yes, I think that's such a beautiful, beautiful reminder. At any given point, we can start where we are today, right? So right now in the middle of January. This doesn't have to be something that you do, really like once a year. And this is really just an exercise, really to give us some clarity, right? Like to remind yourself like what is important to you. To remind yourself, of course, that you matter, that your dreams matter, your life matters, right? You're here for a divine purpose, and there's things that can only come into this world, and they're meant to come through you. So give yourself the time and be, like you said, open your heart and be brave and let yourself dream a little bit, because it's a little bit scary sometimes if you haven't, if you've been living in a space where you're in survival mode, or you're focused on just getting through to the next day, or you're not feeling great, or you're feeling depressed, like at any moment things can change, and you can start exactly where you are today and give yourself hope and vision and clarity for better tomorrows.
Yes. And also the pictures that you should be putting up are things that need to like light, like that lift you up, that literally light
Yeah.
you up. When you see them, when I see these dancers on the thing and I'm looking, I'm like, oh my God, that looks so good. I want to do that.
Yes.
It's that
Yes.
feeling that you want to get, even on those moments and days, like you said, where you're not necessarily feeling it and you're kind of like down in the dumps. That's why it's even more important, because it shifts your focus. And
Yep.
where focus goes, energy flows.
Yes, yes. There's a reason these sayings are sayings. They're true.
Yes,
Like it's true. Like
absolutely.
you're not focusing on the problem, you're focusing on solutions, right? Like, and so this is not magic. This is simply, I am giving myself a visual reminder of what I want my life to look like, what I hope to accomplish in my life, what I hope to contribute in my life. This is a visual reminder of that. This is what I hope to feel. And hopefully, the idea of that is every single day I am creating new habits, or I'm stepping into a new energy to meet this person that I hope to become, right? Like to meet my best self, or to meet my future self. Like this is just a roadmap for you, and hopefully gives you guidance and clarity for who you are, who you hope to be, and like what you want your life to feel like. Yes, it like reminds you of the things that you desire. You're magnetizing those opportunities to yourself, but then you're also doing work on your side by improving yourself in the ways that you need to be able to meet that goal.
Yeah.
So I like to think of it as like two poles coming together, right? Like, yes, it exists and it's waiting for me. And I am, taking my steps and improving my energy to meet the goal, again. So, whatever that looks like. So, again, like we're releasing our attachment to what that looks like. We're releasing the time constraint, but knowing that these things already, like, they exist for us, they're out there. We just need to be patient, have faith. You said that earlier, and I think that's so important. Like, having this conversation with yourself and with God, I think activates your faith and your trust and your hope. For many people, especially given the pandemic, those feelings have been lost for
And a
quite
lot of,
some
yeah, and
time.
it has been replaced by a lot of fear, unfortunately, too. So it's like, yeah,
Mhm.
we need to be able to reinvigor and like bring back to life like the faith and like the hope that you're talking about. Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Liezl. So, Mamacita,
Thank
don't forget
you.
to download your freebie, mamasconganas.com/121. Liezl, my fabulous lady, tell everybody where they can follow you.
You can find me on Instagram at Liezl Paulino. So I am there. If you need help, or if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. I'd be more than happy to help. This is something that I love and would love to be able to help anyone with. So at any point, feel free to reach out.
And just so that you know, Liezl is spelled Liezl. Paulino,
Yes.
Paulina. N-O.
And
N-O.
no worries. I'll send it to you. We'll put it on a note, I'm sure, somewhere.
Yes,
So if they
we'll
need
put it on
anything,
the website.
okay, sounds good.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. We'll
Thank
have you
you,
back
Val.
talking about human design. You have too many interesting topics that we can bring on the podcast.
Thanks, Mama.
Thanks. Have a beautiful time creating your vision boards, Mamacita. May all your dreams and your wishes and your visions come to reality. And we want to hear back afterwards, like a year from now, if you're listening to this and you created it and something happened and you're like, wow, this is amazing. And you discover the power of the vision board yourself. We'd love to hear about it because I think it's just one more proof. You'll be one more proof that these things are very, very powerful. Have a wonderful day. Until next time. Chaito.